So 3 years ago, I decided to give veganism a go. No more meat, no more eggs, and no more cheese. And all of this self-sacrifice to replace my food with this. Or that's at least what I and all the people that I told that I was going vegan thought when I first started. But as you can imagine, the journey looked a bit different. And as today marks the official end of Veganuary, I thought that today would be the perfect day to look back at my 3 years of living as vegan. Here, maybe just a quick disclaimer. As you can maybe tell by the fact that I've been vegan for the last 3 years, I'm pretty convinced by that lifestyle, but I'm still going to try to give an objective feedback as possible. For a long time, I thought that there must be the perfect diet for your health. Initially, I thought to have found that perfect diet in a vegan diet, but as all the other diets, be it paleo, be it keto, be it omnivore, whatever, they all come with their ups and downs. So I don't think there is a one fit for all solution when it comes to nutrition, and I think it would be wrong to trying to transmit that message. Be that as it may, the health aspect of going vegan was only one of a few other aspects that made me actually go vegan in the first place. My primary drive in switching to a vegan diet was not for health reasons, but was actually for animal welfare reasons. A few months before going vegan, I found out for the first time what the milk industry actually looked like on the inside. I obviously knew forever what it meant to eat meat, that an animal has to die for you to eat meat. And with the whole climate movement, I also found out obviously what effects the agriculture, and especially animal agriculture, can have on our environment. And so all of those 3 aspects, so the environment, the animal welfare, and the health aspects, kind of came together for me at the same time. And that gave me enough drive to switch my diet completely. But obviously, I'm also not going to say that from the get-go it was perfect. This is really something that I want to stress. It is true that a vegan diet definitely needs some thought put into it. You shouldn't just go vegan from one day to the next without having, done your own research or even having consulted a doctor or a nutritionist. In the first few months, having come from a traditional Swiss culinary background, I was used to a portion of vegetables, a portion of starch, and a portion of protein, usually in the form of meat or cheese or eggs. So I initially thought of doing that, just replacing basically the meat with, one of those substitute products. But other than the fact that they're extremely expensive, at least here in Switzerland, they're also highly processed. I don't think you're supposed to eat those on a regular basis. They're a nice treat. It's awesome that they're out there. But I'm also going to be frank here. If you have known the taste of the real thing, a substitute rarely is as good as the original. And to my great disappointment, this also applies to vegan fondue. So instead of just replacing what I knew from, my traditional Swiss cuisine, I started to look elsewhere. I started to have a different approach to cooking altogether. Then the more time passed, the more things I also learned. I introduced myself to the whole legumes section at the grocery store. I started to buy beans, chickpeas, lentils, and those foods are not just very rich in proteins, but they're also rich in irons, rich in fiber, and bring a lot of positive aspects with them. I started shopping way more vegetables. My shopping cart these days definitely is half vegetables all the time. It made me also discover new foods that I would have never tried without veganism, new cuisines, new recipes. And that is something that I found really awesome about this whole journey, is that experiencing new things, constantly learning about what you eat. Obviously, the first thing that popped up was the B12, that as a vegan you would have to take a B12 supplement, which I did from the beginning. But other aspects, other nutrients, and here especially iron, I didn't really pay too much attention to. And I've seen videos of people who've tried to be on a vegan diet for, let's say, a year, that struggled really with their iron intake. And as a consequence, felt really tired and exhausted all the time. I must say, just from my personal experience, I did not feel that way. Another thing that I noticed myself and that people noticed around me when they see me a few months after I started my vegan diet is that I lost not a lot of weight. I was always pretty skinny and lean, but I did lose weight. And I knew from the get-go that on a vegan diet, you usually have less caloric intake, so you need to eat more quantities of food to get the same calories out of your food. Basically, at the same time as I started my vegan diet, I also started to prepare for the marathon. So I don't know if it was really due to the vegan diet that I lost weight, or if it was due to running, 60 kilometers a week. And this brings me to my next point. This is really the first time when I ran that I noticed a difference in my body. The first few months, I was just really excited about the whole change, that I didn't really notice a lot of changes within my body. But when I did my long runs on my marathon training, so when I ran 20 kilometers and more, before going vegan, I was always really sore. I had a lot of issues with soreness. And once I went vegan, and it really just took 2 or 3 months, I basically never felt sore again after running. There was an extreme improvement in my overall recovery of my muscles. After a few months on a vegan diet, I really felt more awake, and even though it's not the most sexy topic, my gut was feeling great, even though obviously at the beginning, when you go from, you know, starchy food to beans to chickpeas to lentils to very fibery, protein-rich foods, obviously there are some gut issues involved at the beginning. That's really something, keep that in mind. At the beginning, your gut really will go through kind of a change. But after that was done, and you know, for the last 2.5 years, I had a really good feeling in my body, a very clean feeling in my body. And speaking of my overall health, at that point, after I think 1 year or 1.5 years, I did a blood test. To my own surprise, really, my B12 levels and my iron levels were in a normal range. The only thing I was lacking was vitamin D, but that is something that every person in Switzerland kind of suffers from because we don't get too much sun up here. And I've repeated those blood tests throughout the years, and they always came back more or less the same. And that was obviously very reassuring for myself to see that I'm not harming my body. I think a big part about changing to veganism is also how your surroundings react to it. My girlfriend is vegan, my mom and my sister are basically vegan now. My friends have already tried vegan weeks or are at least very vegan open. They obviously make fun of me sometimes, but in a very kind way, at least I hope. If you have that kind of support and understanding in your surroundings, the whole change also becomes easier and more fun. And the last thing I want to touch upon is something that is obviously a bit frowned upon in the vegan community, and that is cheat days. Are there days where animal products land on my plate? I've never actively looked for cheat days. I really didn't have that need for cheat days. Obviously at the beginning, definitely there was this temptation, but as time passed, that temptation for animal products also slowly disappeared. But that doesn't mean that I never had animal products again. Something that I was really from the beginning out of question for me was meat. In the last 3 years, I really never had meat again, but especially I think exclusively in social settings where I'm invited somewhere where somebody prepares a meal that maybe has milk, cheese, or cream in it, I wouldn't refuse it because I just find that also impolite. At the beginning, I really wanted to be 101% consistent. I told myself I never want to eat animal products ever again, but I also have to admit that it was a pretty big strain mentally just to always really make 100% sure that there is no animal product in your food. And I just also found it impolite to be invited somewhere and then just refuse their entire meal because it has cream in it. And so to sum up my whole blah blah here, without wanting to sound dramatic, going vegan is really kind of a life-changing experience because food is such a crucial part of our lives, and if you just change the basic ingredients that you put into your food, obviously the whole life around it also changes. It is a very adventurous road. I personally extremely enjoyed, I still enjoy it, and I really don't see myself ever turning my back on veganism. As long as my diet makes me feel as healthy and good as it does right now, I really don't think I will ever change. And if you have tried now Veganuary or you're just in general interested by veganism, my recommendations for you is really inform yourself well. It is not a change that is to be taken lightly. Talk to a doctor, talk to a nutritionist, and quite frankly, the internet is a great resource. There's so much information out there so that you just don't go into the whole thing blindly, because it is really a diet that has to be very well planned. But as soon as it is well planned, it is a diet that, at least in my personal experience, it is great for recovery, it is great for your gut, and I really feel overall very happy and well in my body. And with that being said, I hope that I was able to give a transparent review of my 3 years as a vegan. Obviously, summarizing 3 years in a few minutes is very difficult. If you have any subjects that I didn't cover in this video, leave a comment down below. And to show some love and support to this channel, it would be awesome if you click that subscribe button. That's all from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time.